Hi guys, welcome to this week's video. My name's Shay if you're new here, and today we are building my bookshelves. So these have been a long time coming. I've been trying to build these for months and they're finally done. I've actually been done for a while because I have some books on them now and it's starting to slowly become a little library. It's not decorated yet, but that is soon to come, hopefully, though I say that now and it'll probably take a few months. I did have a proper intro already filmed, but because of how long it's taken, I think I might have accidentally deleted that footage. So I will sort of do a proper introduction now and go over what I think I sort of said in the first place, and then we'll jump straight into the project. But I will try and also find some footage. Hopefully I'm showing it to you now of what the room looked like before, but essentially it was just a small empty study. I have obviously shown that room in previous videos because I'll usually like vacuum the floor and everything. So there should be footage, hopefully. But essentially in the intro, I just went through the room and sort of talked about what I wanted to do. I will do a price breakdown at the end of this video as well of the products because I am building these myself. And when I say I'm building them, I had help. My stepdad really came in clutch with this one. So he helped me a lot with this. And I essentially just bought and prepped all the materials, and then he helped me screw in the brackets and the shelves onto the brackets. And so I will put the prices of everything down below in case you are also wanting to do a project like this and just to see if it is going to be more affordable for you. And I do compare the prices to IKEA's Billy Book shelves, but obviously you can do your own price breakdown. But that I think is the most readily accessible bookshelves in bulk for those that want to build like a mini library. So that is what I compare the prices to. But we'll do a quick overview of the room again and then jump straight into the video.
You know, it's simply amazing, right? Yeah.
So we're in the study, soon to be library now. What I have on the walls is some markers for where I think the studs are. Obviously I will have to get a proper stud finder and make sure that it's exactly in the right spot, but this is a general idea of where I think everything is. So what I want to do today, I have here a notepad to do all my measurements to see how many shelves I need to buy. And then I've just grabbed this book because it is the tallest book that I have at the moment. And I don't really buy hardcover books, so I don't want the shelves to be too much bigger than this, but I think on average most hardcovers would probably be roughly around this size. So my idea is to start the top of the middle shelf. That's not a good way to explain it. My idea is to measure the middle of the wall, but measuring the wall surface, not floor to ceiling. So I'm going to measure from the top of the skirting boards to the bottom of the cornice to find the middle point. And then the middle point is going to be the top of the first shelf that I put in. So that when you look in here visually, the middle of the wall is the top of the shelf. So that what I can do from there is measure out the distance of how many I want to go up and how many shelves I want to go down. I've got the book here so that I can measure how big the book is, how much gap I want to leave above the thickest or tallest book, I should say, between the book and the bottom of the next shelf. And then I also have to calculate the thickness of the shelf so that I'm not cutting into book space. And then that way we can see how many shelves I can fit. And I don't want to go too far down or too far up. I want there to be enough space up the top for books to sit on without looking like they're going to hit the ceiling. And when it comes to the bottom shelves, I don't know if you can see. Oh, yes, you can. I have a PowerPoint here. I don't want to go below that at all. And then I also have a big window that's almost to the floor in here as well. So I don't want the shelf to go any lower than the sill of that window. So what I'm going to do is take my book. I've basically labeled this as study library measurements. I've got my phone here for the measurements of the wood shelving that I want to buy. I haven't purchased any of it yet, but I have picked everything out. So first up, let's just measure the floor to ceiling. So from the bottom of the cornice to the top of the skirting board, that's 242, so 242 centimeters. All right, 242. Half of that is 121 centimeters. Measure from top first. I'm just writing down notes so that I remember, because I'm undecided on whether I want to do, eventually I want both this wall and the opposite wall floor to ceiling shelving, but I definitely have got nowhere near enough books to fill even one side. So I'm tossing up on whether it's better to buy everything I need now so that I make sure that, you know, if in 12 months I want to do the other side, I've got all the same ingredients, all the same materials. Or if I just want to do one side and potentially risk not even doing the other side. Because as much as I want to collect books, I want to collect books that I'm going to enjoy and actually read. I don't want to just buy books for the sake of filling up a wall and then having all these books that I don't even like or want to read. So I'm undecided. But at this stage, we're just going to measure everything for this side because I'm just going to do exactly the same on the other side, which is why I'm sort of recording everything that I'm doing to make sure that I can remember how I do it so it matches. And my idea is to get their pre-cut pine shelving planks. I'm going to get some black wood stain. I'm going to buy a big tub of wood stain, way more than what I need for the shelving in this room, even if I were to do both walls, because I'll use that stain. It's going to be an external stain to do the garden beds on the around the backyard as well. That way I've just got all the right materials at the same time. And then I'm just going to buy some L brackets, and I'm going to do 4 per shelf because I want to make sure that it's sturdy and can actually hold a wall full of books and that it's not going to sort of sink in the middle if I don't do all 4 studs. So having said that, I'm going to measure the book. So this is the tallest book I have so far. I don't think many will be much taller. It's like 23.5 centimeters. So if we round it up to 24 centimeters, I'm just going to write this down as I go. So book is 24 centimeters. I'm thinking not a huge gap between books and the top of the next shelf. So that's about 5 to 6 centimeters there. So I'm thinking if I just add 5 centimeters on, it's not a huge amount of space. So if I do get taller books, it might not fit. So they might just have to be put on the side. So that's 29 centimeters with a 5 centimeter gap. So maybe I just round it up to 30 centimeters. So we'll do the 6 centimeter gap. So 30 centimeters from the top of one shelf to the bottom of the next shelf. So let's just mark out halfway. So 121 centimeters. measurement's not exact, but if we do 121 centimeters from the top, then it'll be the same on each side. And that puts it here. So this is the middle shelf. So this will be the top of the middle shelf, which is surprisingly, I don't know why, I expect it to be like up here, but that will be the next shelf up. So now I need to check on my phone the measurement of the actual wood plank. So the shelving itself is 19 millimeters. So if we just round everything up to make it easier. So we say 2 centimeters, so 32 centimeter gap between here and the top of the next shelf. So to get, when I'm saying 32 centimeters, so how I've got that, so let's say 32 centimeters from here. This is how far apart the shelving's gonna sit. So from like my finger to here, this is the gap that I need. And then I can measure from this section here to here, because these are gonna be the top of the shelves. So 2, 3. See, that top shelf is quite high to the ceiling. And then if I do here, 1, it'll only get, say, 2 from here, because then the bottom one is going to be too far. All right, so now that I've done all of that, I think I hate where it's going to sit. That's fantastic. So let me just leave the halfway mark here for now. What I think I might do is, let's see, if I go the windowsill measurement here, from the top of the skirting board to the windowsill is about 26 centimeters. So here, 26 centimeters is not quite the top of this PowerPoint, but I'd want it to sit at least 35 centimeters off the bottom.
You're the melody in my head that I cannot forget. You're the only air I can breathe when I'm standing on the edge. And I know I'm falling, but I'm falling just for you.
So 50 centimeters from the top of the skirting at the bottom. Here. And that would be the top of our bottom shelf. I think that's a yes. And then 32 centimeters gap to get to the next shelf top. So 1 shelf, 2 shelf, 3 shelf, and that's the halfway mark there, so it's a little bit lower. 4 shelf, 5 shelf, 6 shelf, and then it's just about a full 32 centimeters, maybe a little bit more at the top, which I think will be really good. Okay, I think that's it. I don't know if any of that made any sense, but in my brain it's working. So we're going to start from the bottom. So the top of the shelf will be measured at 50 centimeters from the skirting. So bottom shelf, let me write that down. All right, what I'm gonna do is see if I've got any, I think I used the last of the painter's tape, but I'll see if I've got any painter's tape left in the shed, and then I can actually tape out where I think the shelves will go and get a proper measurement. So hold please. So I'm going to start with a quick sketch of where the lines should go, and then I'll tape out where I think the shelves will sit, and we'll go from there and see what it looks like.
You're the melody in my head that I cannot forget. You're the only air I can breathe when I'm standing on the edge. And I know I'm falling, but I'm falling just for you. Yeah, I know I'm falling for you, for you, for you, you, for you. Nothing I wouldn't do for you, for you. There's nothing I wouldn't do.
I think that's it. So in general, the shelving that I'm gonna buy is quite thin. So the blue is pretty much a good representation of the thickness of the shelves. Do I care that they're really thin? No, not really. I'm not trying to make it too, like I want it to look good, but I don't care if the shelving's like not a super thick look. Essentially it is meant to look like a bookshelf. And then if we get our book here and say it's sitting on the top of the shelf, we've got a decent gap there. So if there is anything that is taller than this one, like a hardcover, which I don't think there is, but who knows, it'll fit in quite well. So I'm pretty happy with that. And then the top shelf is also exactly the same distance between the bottom of the cornice and the shelves. So that worked out even better than I actually anticipated. I didn't think it would. So obviously there's a big gap between the bottom shelf, but I don't want it right to the floor anyway. And then because I have the PowerPoint here, I do want to be able to plug things into it. The width of the shelves, I haven't marked out because I just can't be bothered. But it is roughly just past these end ones. So there will be a gap between the wall here and the shelf, which I don't really care about. And then obviously it's not going to interfere with the curtains over this side, which I don't even think is on the camera. But because words today, my goodness. But for now, this is basically measured out how I think I want it to go. I will check back in, I think, after I've bought what I need and then decided if it's worth investing the money to do both sides. At this stage, I'm aiming for yes, because even if it's going to be empty for years, I want the project done, essentially ready to go for when I do have those books. And then I'll just have to figure out where to put these pictures at a later date. And then I'm still undecided on whether I want to keep the walls white. I was thinking of painting them, but I don't want to paint the whole room, which sounds stupid, but I think like the back of this, I would keep the white and do it more like a feature wall. And then I don't know if it's worth painting around the window, because if I were to ever sell the house, I would probably paint all the bits that I've painted black back to the original white, just because obviously black walls are not everyone's taste. And I've just done it in random bits and pieces of the house. So having said that, I feel like this part of the video, I'm gonna have to cut most of what I'm saying out anyway, because otherwise it's gonna be a 4-hour video. And I don't know if that's really boring for everyone else. Just because I would sit and watch that doesn't mean I expect anyone else to. So maybe it'll be a 2-parter, but I kind of hate those as well. I need the instant gratification. Anyway, I'm gonna pack up what I've got and then I'll check back in with you at the next stage.
You're the melody in my head that I cannot forget. You're the only air I can breathe when I'm standing on the edge. And I know I'm falling, but I'm falling just for you. Yeah, I know I'm falling for you, for you, for you, you, for you. Nothing I wouldn't do for you, you, for you. There's nothing I wouldn't do.
Alright guys, so I'm checking back in. Today is hopefully, fingers crossed, the day that we get the shelves up on the wall and done. I have now taken off the pictures from this side, patched the holes in the walls where the pictures were, and sort of roughly measured out where the shelves are going to go. So these tabs here are also roughly where I think the studs in the wall is. All right, guys, I will check back in as we get started, and I might not film as much as I would normally if it was just me, but we'll see. And then, yeah, I will let you know as we're going what's going on, and I'll show you the updated and finished, hopefully finished product soon. Today, hopefully. Hopefully I'm still wearing the same outfit and not because it's been a week later.
There's nothing I wouldn't do. And I know I'm falling, but I'm falling just for you. Yeah, I know I'm falling for you, for you, for you, you, for you. Nothing I wouldn't do for you, you, for you.
Alright guys, so this is where we got up to today. Unfortunately, we had a few issues because none of the boards are actually square. None of the brackets are actually like square, so they don't sit evenly. So it wasn't as simple as just putting it all in and whacking the boards on top, because none of the boards sit flush either. So it was a little bit of an experiment, but we got there in the end after the first day. So one side is done. This side, we sort of experimented to see whether the studs were. Unfortunately, there is no stud here, so the fourth bracket along here somewhere is going to have to use drywall anchors. So we grabbed a couple just to experiment, but that's going to be next weekend's problem, unfortunately. But we didn't quite get it all done today. And then there's a few things we need to problem solve. So I'm going to have to patch up some of the walls, and like there's dust and stuff everywhere. I just gave it a quick vacuum just to tidy up a little bit, but you can sort of see where we were testing, or maybe you can't, where some of the studs were. We've marked up in the corner up, you can't even see really. But I'm going to have to fix up the wall. This one here, we might have to patch up a little bit just because the screw got stuck in there and we couldn't get it out even with the drill. So yeah, and then I'll have to touch up some of these with some paint because like this one's stripped. We tried to fix it, but some wouldn't go in and some would. But to fix that, we actually use soap. This was a tip from the handyman at the store. I've been literally just rubbing the screws into the soap to sort of give them some lubrication to get them to go in a bit easier because it would only go in so far. But other than that, they're pretty much done. Little bits of touch up for this side, obviously, and then the other side. And then just one here, the board here was so like warped that it won't stick down. And because their boards are so thin, we need some fatter screws because the ones I have for the rest of them work fine, but for whatever reason, this one, it literally just pulled the screws out. But once I've got some stuff on there and it sits on there, it should be a little bit more flush. However, that is it for today. We spent quite a few hours because pretty much this entire side, where can I do it without the light? This entire side sort of had to be redone, so we had to pull all the brackets out and put them back on because they weren't exactly where we needed them to be. But I'm super happy with how it is looking so far. Like, nothing is perfect. The way I did the boards, the stain and the poly is not perfect anyway, so I've just been sort of flipping the boards so that the better side is out. But I'm super excited. The top shelves, I think, obviously because they're very high, I wanted this to be like a full library experience, even though I may never actually fill any of these shelves. I think the amount of books I have at the moment would fit maybe 2 shelves. So it's for the future. It's definitely not going to be used now, but I can spread out the books that I do have. And then we're definitely doing the 2 sides. So obviously there's going to be a huge amount of space in here for shelving. So hopefully in the next year or so, I can really start collecting. I might sort of steer away a little bit from buying on my Kindle and buy the physical books if I can find them for a decent price, or better yet, secondhand. And then if I really love the book, I'll just buy it on my Kindle as well, or keep it in my Kindle wish list for when they have a sale, because I really want to start filling these shelves up. I did also want to just show you guys the space that I have. So this is one of the bigger books that I have. So it's basically the size of my head. So when I put it on the shelf, you can see there's quite enough space there between the top and bottom shelf. So if I do happen to have any bigger books than this one is probably the biggest that I've got and will have for a long time. But sometimes you can get some hardbacks that are a little bit taller. But yeah, that was the thought process. And then if I ever want to make these look like thicker shelves, I've got the room to add on extra bits of board. I don't think I will, but it's just an option also. So yeah, I'm super excited with the progress. I will check back in next weekend when we hopefully have finished the others and I can patch all the walls up and start putting the books on the shelves. All right, guys, we're back. It is technically the next weekend, and we're going to try and tackle this wall, only we've come up with some issues. We've got to find the studs essentially behind this wall, because this house was basically all the walls prefabbed. And behind this wall is like this section here is the toilet and this section here is the shower of the ensuite. So we can't find studs here. And this one I think is just kind of floating, and we just kind of lucked out hitting something that wasn't just drywall here. So I have my stud finder here and we're gonna see if we can find, I think the first 2 over this side are okay. But we're just going to sort of check up the top, in the middle and down the bottom to make sure that there is actually something there so that the brackets can all line up vertically. Let's see if we can find some studs on this wall. All right, so I have the trusty, hopefully trusty stud finder. I'm going to start on this end because I'm pretty confident this side has everything I need. Hopefully you guys can see.
There's nothing I wouldn't
Okay guys, so I think I've got it sorted. There's going to be a little issue with 2 of the shelves, I think, maybe. As you can see, I've got like dots everywhere. So essentially I've just dotted roughly where the shelves would go over this side. But this section here with the X, so these ones here, that is obviously where my shower niche is. So this whole thing lights up. So you can see we attempted to try and find, no, you can't actually see. There's holes here. So we tried a few pilot holes to see if we could finally hit a stud, and we didn't. So these 2 are where I need brackets if I go to this end one, which would be ideal, or even this one. So what I need to do, this one might actually be better, is we need to pilot hole these 2 dots here, because this whole section, like I said, being the niche, it's so much closer to this wall, it just lights up this whole section. But these are studs here, so I've got more than I thought, which is good. So each row is essentially a row of studs. I just don't know what's happening in this section here. So I might see if we can try and get this row, because then it will match up a little bit better on the other side, and maybe we might find a little bit more like framing in this section because it's the top and the bottom of the niche. But those 2 sections here are going to be, or these 2 shelves are going to be the most difficult. The rest should be fine because I'm pretty sure it's just framing and studs. So yeah, it's just whatever's going on around here. It's just the way I measured it, that it's going to line up, I think, almost perfectly with the niche in the back. So fingers crossed we find something, but we'll do some pilot holes, I'm sure, just to see what we can hit, and hopefully we get something that we need. Otherwise, I don't know. We'll let you know what we do. But worst case scenario, we can put some drywall anchors in. It's not ideal. It's not what I want to do. And I'm pretty sure it's not what my stepdad wants to do either. But yeah, I'll let you know as we go. All right, guys. So for the price breakdown, I need a sip of my cup of tea just because that was expensive. All right, in the end, my project did end up cheaper than what I would have paid if I went Billy bookcases. Was it easier to use Billy bookcases? Probably, but anyway, I ended up, the total project cost was $747.20. So just under, let's round it to $750 because I didn't add all of the things that I used on this price list. This is mostly the actual project pieces that I am putting on here. So I already had sandpaper. I didn't include like the tray and roller costs that I used for like the clear coat, the stain brushes, things like that. So the paintbrushes I used for the stain wasn't included in the pricing, and the drills and like the ladders, the levels, the essentially all the equipment used to put things on the walls, like the stud finder, they aren't included in any of this because I borrowed most of the tools. They weren't mine, so I don't have to keep them, and I didn't buy any for myself. So if you don't have those, that will be an additional cost on top, which might then make it cheaper to get the Billy bookcases or a prefabbed bookcase. Not necessarily the Billy, that's just what I am going to compare my pricing to in this video, because it is what I see most people using to build like larger scale libraries rather than just 1 or 2 shelves. Anyway, having said that, let's go through the actual costs that I used on this project. So I did buy more stain than I would have needed for this particular project because I am using it out the back. So with that in mind, I paid $93.50 for the stain alone. I also didn't really shop around for certain brands or anything like that. It was whatever I saw first that fit the project's needs at that time. So obviously you can definitely shop around a lot better than I did. Sometimes I was just in a rush, and as soon as I found what I was looking for, I didn't go looking at different brands for different pricing. I was just like, yep, let's go. So I also then paid $64.80 for the clear coat, which is the polyurethane. This is, again, another optional thing. You do not necessarily have to do this. I just wanted to protect the books from the stain, whether it needed it or not. So it was a cost that I was willing to spend for that reason alone. I then bought pre-cut treated pine shelves. Again, if you're painting or something, you could probably go cheaper wood again. And these were already cut to the size that I needed, or I was like, I'm using that for my project because it fits where I need it. So I did pay a little bit more than what you would have if you were just cutting down like any other kind of like board that you can get cheaper. So that was $372.72 for the pine shelves on their own. I also did have to sort of look through all of them because of the way they were sat on the shelf. Quite a few of them were actually bowed and not very like flat or straight. I then also paid a little bit extra to get pre-powder coated brackets and the screws. So if I went just stainless steel or white brackets, they were cheaper again than the black, I believe. And the screws themselves, again, I could probably get a larger packet for a similar price of screws, so I wouldn't have had to have bought as many if I didn't go the powder coated ones. I also necessarily wouldn't recommend the powder coated screws. I don't know if it was like an us issue or because of the powder coating. A lot of the screws were stripping before they were all the way in the stud, and a lot of them would go, say, like 2/3 of the way into the stud, and then the drill or the screws, something wasn't working, and then it would stick out a little bit, there was no more power left in the drill to get it in. So we did have to swap from a battery powered drill to a electric plug-in drill just to get that little bit of extra power to get those last little bits of screw in. And we also used a soap bar to lubricate the screws. So we're just rubbing some soap on that, which was a tip that one of the guys that worked at the hardware store said might help, which it did. So if you need help, that is something you can do as well. So all up, the screws for the shelving themselves, the little button screws, they cost $20.26. I think I only needed one container for that, but it come with well more than what I needed. Otherwise I needed multiple packets of a more expensive screw. And then again, there was limited black ones, so the prices were not as competitive. And then the wood screws themselves, again, I got the black powder coated ones, so they were $17.40. Probably cheaper if you just go like your normal like steel, or sometimes they've got like a copper colored one, so whether it's a different material, but your normal carpentry like screws are probably cheaper again, but because I went the black ones, they're a little bit more expensive. The brackets themselves were $167.04 all up. I did get quite a few. You might not need 4 brackets, but because I had 4 studs in each wall, I wanted a bracket per stud. Again, that might just depend on your space. And then we did end up buying a couple of extra drill bits because one snapped and the others we just didn't want to have to go back to the hardware store. So I bought a couple extras, and I'm like, well, if you need them, you need them. If you don't, they're there for a future project. And that come to $11.48. So in total, $747.20 for the bookshelves that we built. Comparing that to the Billy bookcases, again, let me take a sip of my cup of tea. All right, so I looked at 2 options with the Billy bookcases. I looked at the white ones and I looked at the black ones. Originally, I wanted the black ones because I did contemplate painting or even wallpapering the walls before we did the project, just so that I had that sort of decorative element in the room as well. And so when I was looking at Billy bookcases, I was looking at the black ones and then having it more of like a dark academia sort of vibe in there. But ultimately I didn't end up on doing that, which is probably a good thing because the wall damage that we did was a lot easier to patch up. Obviously, if I just painted it, it would have been fine, but if I had wallpapered it first, it would have damaged quite a lot of the wallpaper. So anyway, with that said, the actual price breakdown of what I said I was going to talk about. So if I had have gone with the Billy bookcases, I would have needed 6 of the regular or bigger bookcases, 2 of the half ones or the small bookcases, and I would have also been able to fit extenders on the top, which I would have wanted to do because I would have wanted it floor to ceiling. So that's 6 big bookcases, so 3 on each side, and then 2 of the smaller ones, so 1 on each side. The white ones, with just the bookcases alone, not including the extenders, would have come to $912 with an additional $260 on top for the extenders, bringing a total to $1,172. So $1,172 for the white Billy bookcases that I would have needed versus $750 essentially. And then with the black ones, because they were more expensive again, the total for just the bookcases would have been $1,072 for the black bookcases, an additional $300 for the extenders, bringing the total to $1,372. So I did save in the end like about $600, which is pretty good because that is really expensive. But it depends on what you have accessible to you, because maybe building from scratch is going to be more expensive because you'll have to buy all the tools that come with it. Whereas with the bookcases, I don't think you really need tools, like maybe a screwdriver, but usually they put those little Allen key looking screwdrivers in with your packets anyway, so you don't necessarily need tools. But getting one like screwdriver is a lot more cheaper than buying drill bits and drills and, you know, any other materials outside of the actual shelving materials that you need, like any of the tools. So yeah, that is the price breakdown. And now that we're done with all the boring bits, let's go straight into the reveal. All right, guys, we are done finally. So off camera, I just went in and touched up the paint, any holes, trying to get off any pencil marks, things like that off the wall. We're up to the decorating stage, which is so exciting. This side actually was a lot better than this side, despite we had to shove some of the brackets across a little bit further just to find the stud and to avoid basically the niche for the shower on the other side. But it's all looking so good. I'm so happy with it. And then, yeah, the next step is just putting all my books on the shelves, which I don't have anywhere near this many books, but that's okay. I'm super excited to start putting things away, so that will be one of the next videos coming up, but it's finally done. I can finally relax and, yeah, start decorating this space. So I think I'll put the bookshelves, the books on the bookshelves in a separate video, and then maybe eventually I'll do like a full makeover where I can actually find a reasonable priced chair and maybe lamps, some mat, rug things, blankets, stuff like that. So let's show you guys what this space looks like.
I can't wait to see you today. I just love it when you call me Kate. It don't matter what we're doing, nowhere I'd rather be, so time just races by. You're my high, there is never enough time, so effortless, don't got to try. Oh, you are home, yeah, and you're all mine, yeah. Hey. coffee. Yeah, I love how you trace the curves of my body.
Okay guys, so that is it for this video. Finally, thanks so much for sticking around for this journey with me. If you've made it all the way to the end, thank you so much. Feel free to like, subscribe. Otherwise, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Sunday morning lay upon to me.
So when I'm filming this, it's still actually 2024. It's that weird time between like Christmas and New Year's. So if you've seen this outfit many a time, repeating in all my videos, it's because I've filmed them all in that few days, and then I'm just going to edit them as I need them, because this is the only time I've got off. So hopefully by, let's hope, February, this project is actually going up and you're seeing like the end product.